Hello, guys. It's Abe Zimmerman, and it is Friday. Hope you're doing well. Very short bit of lame humor today for you. A little bit tired. Didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to last night. I was actually about 3 o'clock in the morning. I heard a very rude neighbor, in fact, banging on my door. And I mean, who does that at 3 in the morning? Luckily, I was already up practicing my trumpet, but still, it's, kind of a rude thing to do at 3 in the morning. My birthday really is this weekend, so happy birthday to me. Thank you very much. Just a couple quick stories for you. I did mention my birthday to Ernie, and, it's always a story with Ernie. He said that his wife told him that he had ruined her birthday. And he said, how could I ruin it? I didn't even know it was her birthday. So hopefully he'll figure that out. But, he actually had some trauma when he was younger about that. When he was a young boy, it was actually his 10th birthday, and he figured out that his mom actually liked his brother more. His mom asked him to take his twin brother out to the mall so that she could prepare his surprise birthday party. So that kind of got him thinking. And he figured that out. I did come across some recent research, though, that's interesting. Apparently, birthdays actually make you healthy. It's true. These recent studies show that people with more birthdays live longer. That's the research. Anyway, I thought I'd tell you a couple stories today. There were 3 guys in Saudi Arabia, German, an Irishman, and an Englishman, and they were actually just having a good time sharing some smuggled whiskey, and they got caught by the Saudi government, and of course that's a very serious crime there, so they were all sentenced to death. Luckily, after working with some really good lawyers and some time, their sentences were reduced to 20 lashes each, and so they appeared for their punishment phase, and the sheikh said, since it's my wife's birthday today, she has asked that each of you get one wish before you get your lashing from the whip. So the first guy up was the German, and he said, my wish would be to tie a pillow on my back. So they put the pillow on his back, but after about 5 lashes with the whip, it was just, destroyed. And so by the time they got finished with 20 lashes, he was pretty bloody and crying, and, they led him away. So the next guy up was the Englishman, and he took note of that, and he said, well, what I would like for my wish is to have 2 pillows strapped to my back. So they strapped 2 pillows, and after 15 lashes, same thing, it was totally destroyed, and he was in pain, and, lots of weeping, and, it was kind of a horrible incident. So it was the Irishman's turn, and the sheik, before the Irishman could say anything, he said, you have the most beautiful land that I've ever visited, and so in honor of that, I'm going to give you 2 wishes instead of 1. And so the Irishman thought about it for a moment, and he said, instead of 20 lashes for my first request, I'd like to have 100 lashes. And the sheik said, wow, you're not only come from a beautiful country, you're a very brave man. And what is your second wish? And the Irishman said, for my second wish, I'd like for you to tie the Englishman to my back. So that was kind of a little bit of a relationship story as well between the English and the Irish. Kind of Irish luck, which reminds me a little bit of another story about the guy that was in New York, and he needed a taxi, and he walked out in the street. As soon as he stepped foot off the curb there, taxi comes right by, opens his door, and he hops in, and the cab driver starts talking to him, and he says, wow, that was just like a Frankie Feldman moment. And he said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, there's a guy named Frankie Feldman, and he's famous for being right and perfect and never making mistakes and just having good things come his way. Just like when you walked out in the street and the taxi came right there for you. That's like a Frankie Feldman type of thing. And he's right every single time. And, of course the guy said, well, that's a little bit hard to believe. And he said, no, really, everything that you can imagine. He was a terrific athlete. He could have won the Grand Slam in tennis. He could golf with the pros. He sang like an opera baritone. He danced like a Broadway star. You should have heard him play the piano. He was an amazing guy. And he said, wow, that does sound like a pretty incredible person. He said, yeah, there's more. He had a memory like a computer. He remembered everybody's birthday, anniversary dates. He knew all about wine, which foods to order. He could fix anything. Frankie Feldman could do everything right. He was like, wow, what a guy. He said, yep, and he never made a mistake. And he really knew how to treat a woman, which was very important as well. He knew how to make a woman feel good. He would never raise his voice or argue with her, even if she was wrong. And his clothing was always immaculate and stylish, and his shoes were always polished. He was like the perfect guy. He never made a mistake. No one could ever measure up to Frankie Feldman. The guy said, wow, well, how did you meet this Frankie Feldman? And the cabbie said, well, I never actually met Frankie. He died, but I married his wife. And that's how he knew about Frankie Feldman. Here's a couple of things just to wrap up for today. I know it's a little shorter today, but sometimes less is more, especially when the humor is very lame like this is today. But just a kind of final things of wisdom to wrap up. Here's from the Half Glass Full School of Wisdom. What do you do when no one comes to your birthday party? Well, that's when you celebrate and you realize you can finally have your cake and eat it too. That's right. And one little tip for the ladies. Ladies, if there's a man out there who remembers your birthday, all your birthdays, all your anniversaries, knows what you enjoy, and understands all your friends and your family, that would be Mark Zuckerberg. Look it up. Hey guys, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.